Good. All right. Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. Our first meeting for 2013. Happy New Year, everyone. And let's all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for our prayer. I don't see Pastor Good here. Okay, and we'll just have a moment of silence. Okay, thank you very much. Everybody can be seated. And we'll start with roll call. Beth, please.
Mayor Kavanaugh?
Here.
Councilmember Yates?
Present.
Vice Mayor Lejay? Councilmember Brown? Councilmember Hanson? Councilmember Elsie?
Here.
Councilmember Dickey?
I just have a short 3 items for my report. Events that I've attended over the last month or so. The first is a couple weeks ago I was on the Jay Lawrence show on KCAR along with my husband John. He talked about the state and I talked about important issues for Fountain Hills. I also attended a presentation by Central Arizona Project, CAP, the organization that manages 1.5 million acre-feet of water that's delivered to 3 counties, including our own. I toured the canals and gained a greater understanding of the delivery and storage system. Fountain Hills State Representative John Kavanaugh was honored to be part of a trade and friendship delegation to China, the only person chosen from Arizona, along with 8 other representatives and senators from other states and some corporate executives. I was privileged to be able to attend all the meetings in China with the foreign ministers, mayors, businessmen, and the governor, and I used the opportunity to tell them all about our wonderful town. While before they didn't even know where Arizona was, it seemed like all they knew was New York and California. Fountain Hills is now a household name in Chongqing, Beijing, and Shanghai, and many of them now have our famous fountain pens to remember us by. Thanks. We will start with our scheduled public appearance, presentation by Chris Coyle, General Manager of Republic Services of Phoenix, Allied Waste, relating to the town's recycling program.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council. Happy New Year to you all. Thank you for having me here tonight. Roughly a year ago, March last year, I committed to the council on their direction to take a look at the recycling rewards program and come up with a solution for the donation of points, of the points that are earned for the recycle program. And, we took this seriously and we, did a nationwide search. The organization looked across the country to see what other rewards programs there are that are out there, and how they might work for Fountain Hills. First off, we found that there aren't too many providers out there, or at least quality providers. But we did find one, a company named Ripple, and you'll talk to Rob Gens will present here in a little bit, and you'll hear the specifics about it. But we found one company who does get it. And the program that they offer actually is an improvement overall on the program we have now. Plus it has that one key component where there's the ability for the residents to use their recycling points that can benefit nonprofit organizations in the town of Fountain Hills. So with that, we have a quick presentation here. First, I'd like to start it off with the video. This video runs about 90 seconds. It'll give you an overall view and overall presentation of what the program is. And then Rob will come up here and we can start talking some specifics about those programs. And then we'll actually have a comparison, which is in your deck, of what we currently have versus what the alternative program could do for the town of Fountain Hills. So with that, I will launch the video.
Welcome to My Republic Rewards Ripple Program, a great new way Republic is encouraging more people to recycle, spread the word about recycling, and support community development. When more people recycle more, we make waves. When they share recycling information and activities, they cause ripple. My Republic Rewards Ripple Program motivates households to recycle and rewards residents for inspiring others to do the same. As soon as a person registers, they have immediate access to hundreds of great deals and discounts. And as long as they consistently recycle, they remain eligible for all the Ripple Program rewards. And for the most active recyclers who help spread the word, we offer premium rewards with extra discounts and special deals. What makes My Republic Rewards Ripple Program so unique is that each point earned can become a vote for community or social projects. Each project begins with a goal. As residents vote their points, goals are met and grants are funded for things like park improvements, nonprofit giving, and other social initiatives. All grants are funded by My Republic Rewards Ripple Program. With Ripple, everyone benefits. Republic benefits from more households recycling more and being trusted as their environmental partner. Communities increase civic pride through high-visibility social projects, all funded by the program. And individuals not only benefit from great deals and discounts, but by having a sustainable impact in their communities. We call this the ripple effect. More people recycling more. Start your own My Republic Rewards Ripple Program today.
So as you can see, My Republic Rewards, powered by Ripple, has all the components of our current program, plus that additional component of being able to vote those points for town or community projects. With that, I'd like to bring up Rob Gens from Ripple. He's been with, he worked for Recycle Bank in the past. I'll let you tell him more about his experience. But he knows exactly what the town is looking for, and he'll be here to help us provide that to you. Thank you, Chris. Council, Mayor. My name is Rob Gens, and I hail from the great state of Minnesota. Here in your gorgeous weather today. I appreciate that. Thank you. The Ripple Rewards Program sought me out as an expert in the recycling industry with rewards, as I spent almost 5 years with the Recycle Bank Company up until last July. And the Ripple program has a significant stamp and footprint in many other industries, including employee incentives, corporate incentive programs, and the like. And so I'll go through a little bit of a slide deck for you to show you a little bit about that, if I may. All right, so here's just a quick snapshot of what a home page could look like. All of the pages that we, set up in support of Republic for every town that we would work with can be completely customized to what the town or Republic decides for it to be. Whether it be a photo of a particular project that the town is working on, whether it be the backdrop of a picture of the city, all components of the program, including content, specific content related to your community, can be customized, which is a very big departure from what your previous program had. And so this is just a sample of what a home page could look like, and we would be able to work with your town leaders to customize that look that you would want. This is just a snapshot of an area that is part of our national network of reward partners, and that would be listing businesses in the retail area, the restaurant area, travel, gift cards. It's a very, very vast network that we work with across the country that provides, I'm going to tell you, probably 3 to 4 times the volume of rewards in most areas compared to the previous program or the program that you're currently working with. So it has deeper numbers of reward partners, and it also has deeper discounts on those rewards specific to your local community, regionally, and also nationally with some of the more prominent brands through our gift card program. This is just something that you saw a little bit on the video. It's an area where you as a town would make determinations on how you would want to allocate a budget of, let's say, about $10,000 a year based on the number of households that you have, that our program would collaborate with Republic to put in to the donation piece. So if the budget was $10,000, and I'm using general terms, it's really going to be close to that amount based on the number of households that you have and how we allocate that. That's very important to us as a rewards company, and that we feel that the ripple effect is only going to connect if we get people in town that are really sharing their experience with recycling, getting involved in donating to community projects or initiatives. And many of those decisions can be made by you as a town or a committee of your town that would decide, or if you'd want to throw that back on Republic or us to help you with that, we can do that as well. But it's all customizable, which many people feel is very good. This is a brief comparison of the Recycle Bank program, which you currently have, and the Ripple program, and putting your zip code into our rewards database, which has local, regional, and national reward partners on them. The current, this was run, I would say about maybe 6 weeks ago, this list was run, so it's pretty current. There were 194 options that were shown on the Recycle Bank program within your town's zip code, and 711 in the Ripple program. You're going to find more restaurants, more retail, more gift cards, more top brands, and certainly that would not even include who you would ultimately choose as donation partners for any charitable giving or nonprofit organizations. Our program allows for everyone to earn points. The Recycle Bank program sort of mandates that there's a collection procedure that tracks who is and isn't recycling, which isn't a bad thing. But our program says, look, what we want, everybody's going to recycle. We feel everybody's going to recycle. We're going to give everybody points. We're going to disarm that whole scenario. We're going to give you extra points if you do things like social sharing, donating points, and doing things that would be pertinent to your community's, causes and initiatives. So we'll add additional bonus points for people who do things that are more current to what exactly you as a town want to do, not what the company of Republic or the company of Ripple wants or the company of Recycle Bank wants, but what you want as a town. The access is unlimited to the rewards, so the points are actually utilized for donating to the charitable causes rather than to just receive them for a personal reward. The personal rewards treasure chest is open simply by registering on the website. So that if you wanted to, save $10 on a $20 restaurant purchase locally in town, you could do that, as long as the inventory is there that the restaurant dictates. And that's through our national network of restaurants that we work with. That includes a tremendous number right here in Fountain Hills. In fact, we see many of the same reward partners that are in the Recycle Bank program currently that are in our program, and there'll be many more of them as well. Excuse me. Also, our program offers travel offers. We also have a savings that's going to be about double of what your current average savings is for a resident in their individual rewards right now. As well as a National Golf Course Network that offers dramatic discounts on green fees, and also spa and other types of networks that we belong to. Our company is not necessarily specific to the recycling industry. We've been specific to employee incentives with some major companies and major brands through a company in Minneapolis, St. Paul called Agio Marketing. And then our call center is located in Illinois, and it's a partnership of those two companies that forms the expertise in the reward space, not just the recycling space, but the reward space of what major companies are using nationally to reward employees, to look at how they incent particular actions within a corporate environment. So the alliance that we're forming with Republic is helping us as a company to get into the recycling space, which is something that previously as a company hadn't thought of. I, of course, was in the recycling space and brought into this to help them with deployment of that, with that experience. But, the over 10 years of experience that our company has is in other areas that are very much larger. And so you'll see some of those brands on this slide, some of these companies, like a Mattel, like a Verizon Wireless, Xerox, some of the major companies that we work with and provide these rewards to on a specific individual basis. So again, just trying to give a highlight to you in this presentation today of how the program works. And, with that, I would either open it up for questions, or some people have said the video goes by so fast they'd like to see it again. We'd be willing to do that too if you wanted to. But again, that would be what we got. So thank you, Rob. I appreciate it. So again, Council, Mayor, thank you again for the opportunity to present today. I think the product that we have here addresses the needs that the Council tasked me with. It's a larger, unlimited treasure chest of rewards, local, national, and regional awards, deeper discounts, and ultimately has that option to vote on those local nonprofit organizations. So with that, we open it up for discussion.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for coming. I know you've been working on this for a long time and working with Raymond on getting this so that this is possible. This is something that the community really wanted. So I appreciate your effort
Thank
and
you.
all the work you put into it, and Raymond also.
Also, too, it was great working with staff. They were very supportive and provided a great direction for us to get a solution here for you.
Does anyone have questions? And Councilman Elsie?
Chris, thank you.
Thank you.
And just a couple questions, and it may be better suited for the other gentleman.
Yes.
Of course, you know the answer. It's just from a practical implementation standpoint. Excuse me. Easy for me to say. For example, let me just give you a scenario, an example. We have a number of nonprofits in town. We have a wonderful community of volunteers. And if nonprofits said, well, we want to set up an account, and then we want to go about putting advertising that folks should donate to this specific account that'll come to that specific charity. Is that something that could happen? I know you were explaining earlier as far as one account in a town or a committee deciding, who gets what, that sort of thing. But in that scenario, is that something that could be set up?
Yes, it can. So the program is really customizable. Really, anything we kind of dream up, we can probably do. Commonly, what is done is you saw 2 or 3 choices there. Those choices will be up there for 3 to 6 months. We don't want to change it too quick, so there's a decent value gets earned by that nonprofit. So that'll be up there for 6 months on the website, let's say. And then the users can choose to vote for those for the 6 months. And it can be set up in a couple different ways. Let's say we just put a chunk of money out there, first, second, and third. You divide it into, 3 different pieces. Let's say it's $5,000. Somebody gets 3, somebody gets 2, somebody gets 1, okay? Or somebody gets 3, 1,500, and 500, okay? Or you can do it, there's a winner, and that one group would get the entire chunk of money that's set aside, the entire donated amount. And it can work like that. Anything you want to add? Yeah, I think, you said it well in that it can be customized. Our belief of, conceptualizing this for your community and based on the budget that you have is not to have too many in one period of time, because it can be somewhat confusing, to the residents of who do I donate to and why. And if you keep it to a fairly small amount, 3 to 5 charitable organizations for the set period, whether that's 6 months or what have you, then that amount can be somewhat substantial for them. And then the ripple effect that we talk about will be those individual organizations going out to the communities to say, have you donated your points? And have you donated them to us? And that really highlights the fact that you have a viable recycling program that's doing good for community as well.
Mayor, if I may, I look forward to working out the details on that and seeing some proposals on it. And I just have one question for legal. With the change, since it's no longer Recycle Bank, has there been any discussions as far as amending the agreement that we have to include Ripple and adjust that to make sure that everything is understood?
Not that I'm aware of, Mayor and council member, but certainly I'll ask the question of Andrew.
I do want to make one comment to that. The points that people have earned with Recycle Bank are good for a 1-year period. So Recycle Bank will honor those, so that will give the community plenty of time to redeem their Recycle Bank points and thus not losing them.
Okay. And I know you showed on your slide that in relation to the charities, let's say the town itself wanted people to donate for something. Could the town also be a recipient? Let's say we wanted to put another, little gym in the park or something, park amenities. We could also be recipients of
Absolutely.
those points?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We're looking to see what benefits the community and what's determined by staff and council, and we're there to support it.
Okay, now let's say that people have accumulated a lot of points, but I know it takes a lot of points to actually get something on the old system. Is there any way that they could transfer their points over to the Ripple?
Yeah, you take that one.
So there is no transfer of points from the other company to our company. As Chris mentioned, any points that someone would have, and maybe it's 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 points, they can be cashed in over a year's period. And in the new program they're going to, what's really good about it though is it's not point driven to be able to redeem a specific reward. It's treasure chest opened by registering. So if there's a gift card that somebody wants to get at a discount for a major retailer or an online presence or a local restaurant, they can redeem that a number of times depending upon the inventory that merchant sets on the site. It's very dynamic. It does change a lot, which is another benefit of the program.
Okay, it certainly sounds like a much better system. Thank
Thank you.
you. Does anyone else on council have any questions?
Mayor, I just have a couple.
Vice Mayor Lejay?
Thank you, Mayor. Chris, good to see you. Thanks for the presentation, and the representative from Ripple, thank you for being here. It's been a while, and you guys have worked hard putting this together. Just a couple comments and a couple questions. And one is kind of at a micro level, looking at the comparison, who earns points. All registered households, every pickup, I think that's a real improvement, because I know I'd spoken with Raymond about this when Recycle Bank started happening, and people were a little annoyed that every week after every pickup, they had to go online and, so forth and so on. So that's a real improvement, as well as everything else on there. In the event that we move in this direction, Chris, what are the next steps? And logistically, what types of things would you be putting in place to, promote, educate, and help our consumers understand that there is a transition and how to get involved and so forth and so on?
Yeah, the next step would be to work out the legal process as far as switching from the previous provider to Ripple and the My Republic Rewards program. From there, that kind of determines timing, but there would be several types of communications, invoice communications, individual mailers, participating in community events, having booths there to make sure we get the word out. And the neat part about this program is a piece of the fee that essentially Republic Services pays for this automatically is set aside for the grant program and for advertising and for participation in those organizations. So the funds are there to ensure that we can get the word out. And then from there, the town, we can work with staff to determine how many funds and what goes where and what types of communications we can do. So we'll continue to go along with that. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, if I may, I was just going to add, one of the things that we feel would work very well is if there was some sort of a letter that would come from a lead official, whether it be the mayor or someone that would announce the change, and perhaps the fact of why you were making the change would be helpful, I think, in the transition. Maybe if that's bundled with some multiple touch points on maybe a cable broadcast of this video, or other things that he mentioned. But multiple touch points we think would work real well to quickly inform people about it.
Okay. Well, this meeting's a good start, because this will be on Channel 11, and we have 2 members of the press here, so people will already start to read about it. And we do have some upcoming events here in the spring, and we will let you know. Perhaps you'd like to have a presence there.
Absolutely.
Okay. Anyone else? Councilman Yates?
Madam Mayor. Thanks, Chris, for coming.
Thank you.
Happy New Year. Good to see you again.
Happy New Year.
Any transition costs? You mentioned about the website and that was one example. Would that be a link that we'd provide on ours and?
That's all incurred by Republic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But we
So there-
would have some input, obviously.
Yes, we would, yes.
communicate it early.
Absolutely, yeah. That'd be an open communication as far as what's going on and what's being spent, yes.
So to reiterate, there's no cost for transitioning.
Negative. There is no cost.
All right. Negative cost. I like that.
I would just add positively that our tech team is ready in probably a 60-day period to make that kind of a turn, as long as we have good input from you on what you want the site to look like.
Okay.
So our tech team is waiting for that, so
Thank
we're ready to go.
Okay. All right, thank you. Councilman,
Thanks. I just thought of something. So this is sort of the first hybrid of this kind of a thing. You were saying that you do the rewards on other ways, incentives and things like that, and you brought the recycling into it. So this is sort of a pilot or a model, or how would you describe it?
The primary company that is taking on this task and partnering with Republic is more historically in the employee incentive space. The CEO of the company, though, has a 35-year background in the waste industry. So we really think we have a very strong team to be able to have a lot of connections. We have deployments ready to go in Texas and also one on the West Coast. So we're ready to go in those areas. But yes, this is fairly new within that rewards component, but the rewards are not new. They've been used in all of these other industries with major companies.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I thought maybe if we get out the chute before a lot of others, you could use us if we go that way and we're
Yep,
just
as
smashing
founding,
success. Fountain Hills could be spoken about everywhere,
Absolutely.
including China.
Yeah, including China. And again, we're very comfortable and feel very confident in the capabilities of the Ripple team with the 35 years of solid waste experience from that individual, with Rob's experience with Recycle Bank. We know it's a good combination to where they know rewards, they know recycling, they know the waste industry. By combining those together, I think we have a program here that is designed for the community, not designed for another purpose.
good to know. Good to know. Okay, gentlemen, thank you so
Thank you very much for
coming.
your time.
Appreciate it.
Have a very good night. Enjoy the game.
We'll go on to call to the public. We have a couple of speakers.
One speaker, Bo James.
Hey there, Bo.
I'm fine, thank you. Good evening, Council, Mayor. Happy New Year to you all. I'm very happy to hear the presentation today. Since we've talked about this, it was promised back in November 2010, and then in March of this year, the Council was told that they would have a program in effect by the end of November of 2012. So it's past that by a month and a half, but I'm still glad that we're making progress on it anyway, and I hope that we can implement a program of rewards that we can donate to non-profits, or particularly the charities, in the near future. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, we'll go on to our consent agenda. We have 3 items for today. First is consideration of approving the Town Council meeting minutes from December 11th, 2012. The second, consideration of approving a liquor license application submitted by Frank Carmen Yakonis, owner agent of Protect LLC, doing business as Casovino Custom Winery, located at 12005 North Saguaro Boulevard, Suite 101, Fountain Hills. This is for a Series 13 license, domestic farm winery. The third is consideration of approving Resolution 2013-01, abandoning whatever right, title, or interest the town has in portions of the certain public utility and drainage easements located at the southerly and easterly property lines of Plat 603-B, Block 4, Lot 8, 15723 East Troyer Drive, as recorded in Book 161 of Maps, page 41, with records of Maricopa County, Arizona, EA 12-080. Can I request a motion
Mayor,
to
so moved.
accept as read and a second?
Second.
Any speaker cards on this, Beth?
No, Mayor.
All right, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Yates?
Aye.
Councilmember Hanson? Vice Mayor Lejay? Councilmember Dickey? Councilmember Elke?
Aye.
Councilmember Brown?
Aye.
Mayor Kavanaugh?
Aye.
Mayor 7-0.
Okay, now we'll go on to our regular agenda items. The first is consideration of appointing 3 citizens to each serve a 2-year term on the Board of Adjustment for a period beginning February 1st, 2013 until January 31st, 2015. I move to appoint John Kovac III and Nick Selman and Daniel Halloran to serve on the Board of Adjustment, each to serve a 2-year term beginning February 1st, 2013 and ending January 31st, 2015. And any speaker cards?
No, Mayor.
Okay. Any council discussion on the nominations? And all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No? Okay.
Mayor
All right.
7-0.
And I just want to thank those 3 gentlemen for volunteering. John and Nick are reappointments, and Dave is new to the Board of Adjustment. Thank you, all 3 of you, for the service to the town. Now we'll go on to discussion related to the Economic Development Plan. Ken?
Kavanaugh, members of the council. As directed by the council in August as one of the operational priorities of the town was to come up with some form of an economic development plan to have a focused approach on a number of things that have been discussed over the years. I'd like to show a little bit of that tonight and try to answer any questions or further any discussion that's on the subjects. As you know, that it's kind of had an issue with the council having further consultants on board or further studies being done. So staff put this together for you in-house by asking the cooperation from the Chamber of Commerce, council members themselves, as well as some citizens that have experience in putting these together. So it's basically homegrown, and it's also a result of a number of the previous plans that have been attempted in Fountain Hills as well that I think need to be continued. As you know, the basics of economic development for a local community is really looking at it with two concepts. One is base sector or base economy, which are the base sector jobs that are created, that draws in the wealth outside of the community. A distribution facility, a manufacturing facility, whatever, brings in jobs and brings in revenue from that, brings in salaries. Salaries then spread among the non-basic economy, which is our retail and the retail base, and hopefully that turns over, which then generates further revenue 6 or 7 times, as they usually say. So that's the concept of how we're really looking at the program. With the pretty picture that you have in there, it just kind of gives you the base activity, which is again, it's the business, the non-basic or the businesses here that the money is being spent. We do have some issues that we'll talk about in this plan. We do have some leakage in that because of the retail study that we gave not too long ago that shows you a little bit of that concern. This slide was the basic attempt under the budget, if you remember the budget, to talk about an economic development approach. If you look at those 3 areas, it was focused in on the area specific plan for community development, the tourism initiative that has been ongoing, and the business attraction initiative. All of these were in our strategic plan. EV 1, 3, 5, and 4, as well as working with our stakeholders. To expand off of that, when we looked at it a little bit more, it's basically saying the same thing but repackaged in a little bit different way that shows a little bit better flow from an objectives approach to a focused approach of those objectives to those targeted industries that we need to be reviewing for sustainability effort in the community. Again, the plan emphasizes objectives that we desire to grow the community's economy. It maximizes our talent that we have and enhances our community's quality of life like an economic plan should do. It recommends 5 focus areas: business attraction, the retention of existing business, as well as those and hopefully expansion of those. The entrepreneurial development, that's the spirit as well. That spirit is alive and well in this community. Foundation maintenance, in other words, the community infrastructure to continue to maintain that, and catalysts that help to expand or help us with our quality of life and help with the economic development efforts. The 4 targeted business sectors: tourism and recreation, professional, technical, and scientific services, and health and medical, bioscience, and wellness sectors, as well as finance and insurance. And we have a number of these already in town in a small way, and we just like to expand those further ones. As they sit today, we just want to continue them. So growing our community, again, the business growth is critical to creating community wealth, and it's an important component of any economic development program. And attracting that and retaining quality, well-paying jobs help to diversify the economic base and fosters a live and work atmosphere. So attracting and developing business activities that create wealth and revenues in Fountain Hills is required to achieve a community's long vision for long-term sustainability. There's 2 types of those, as I said, the basic and non-basic. I won't go in those again, but it's the strategic approach to that. Again, if you look, there were 8 strategies from the 2010 strategic plan that we took this from. I won't go into those because you've already seen them before, but I'll be happy to discuss any one of those that you might have a question on. Again, with that, it was a multi-tiered approach with the objectives and the focused approach and the targeted industry sectors, as I mentioned previously, with those areas. With the business attraction, we were looking at recruitment efforts within those following those areas, and that's the North American. The North American industry.
Call it NAICS.
NAICS 54, 62, 52, and 71 are those classifications that are created. Again, there's a game plan that talks about that as continued facilitation on a new basic sector employment opportunities, recruit those local business owners who operate outside Fountain Hills and try to get them back into the community. Target recruitment efforts that identified in the 2012 retail market analysis that we did in the middle of 2012. Develop and implement communication strategy aimed at targeted industries. So in other words, get our name out there and how to approach it with an implementation of a comprehensive annual tourism and recreation development program, which is a year-round program. Basically, look at it from a year-round, 12-month perspective. The business retention expansion, again, is the BRE program, as it's always called, but to identify companies with plans to expand, identify companies with a risk of leaving, identify companies with community and the challenges that they have within the community, provide assistance where we can, and also building of those relationships, which I think we're a little bit lacking on, at least local government-wise, that we need to have a better relationship building effort with a number of our industries, or base sector industries that we have in our community. So that, again, is to implement those visitation program, which we were doing with our previous economic development administrator, going out and visiting those business sectors with that classification of the North American Industry Classification System. The long-term entrepreneurial development, again, we have a lot of startup in the area and in our community. We like to continue working with that. Working with the structures that we have, our partners that are doing that, currently working on with business support and creating support structures and assistance to further those and foster more of that in the community. The foundational maintenance is to ensure that we have the tools and the system and the structure to support economic development. In other words, we need to have the community development side of our community, that we have the viable incentives for business locations, considerations in Fountain Hills, business-friendly environment, in Fountain Hills, maintain a physical infrastructure to support the economic development, which is extremely important, and ensure town of Fountain Hills services that meet community needs and achieve a more sustainable revenue base. Those catalysts that we talked about earlier is to revitalize and maximize economic opportunities, and that means development of those focused areas such as the Avenue of the Fountains or the Fountain Park, the Shea Corridor, the Saguaro Boulevard Corridor that we identified, as well as a specific area plan, and there was a number of those districts that were focused in on what they should be. So we want to lose sight of those districts, such as the residential district of downtown, the South End district, the downtown business, the Lakeside district, those areas that have been identified and approved, actually voter approved in a specific area plan within our comprehensive plan. Again, that game plan will be to develop and prioritize those implementation strategies for that downtown specific plan. We're doing some of that now. We need to continue with that until we have a lot of these vacant lots filled. That would be the success performance factor that we need to look at, to look at the revitalization efforts there. The collaborative effort required for an economic development strategy success. This plan is based on expanding local economy. Again, those successes were coordinated approach and community collaboration, smart growth, develop long-term efforts with a long-term vision, and existing business support, corporate responsibility, as well as the human investment that we have in the community. Start with an economic development summit has been recommended. That probably needs further discussion if you would want to talk about economic development on a community-wide basis and bring in a lot of our partners that would be interested in this, such as the Chamber of Commerce and the Business Alliance and the Fort McDowell, Yavapai Nation and GPEC and Commerce Authority, our utility providers, our education providers. Sit them down and talk about these focus areas to find out if there's further interest in pursuing these focused approaches in a partnership method. And lastly, we need to continue to evaluate with performance metrics on any of the programs that we look at on an annual basis to find out if we're seeing success. And if we're not, they need to be reevaluated. But those metrics we should be looking at should be based on 6 criteria, and that's time, cost, resources, scope, quality, and the actions that are provided in that effort. So with that, very quickly, you've read it, you've had it for a month, so I'd just be happy to open it up and further discuss any questions that you have. If you want to go ahead and put this on an agenda in the future to adopt it as a focused approach, and whatever you want to do.
Okay, but I just want to thank you for putting this together. I know you've been working on this for a very long time. Every time I come to your office, it's either this or pavement management that we're talking about. And I know you've had a lot of input from some outside groups and also a lot of help from staff. So thank you for putting this together. Really appreciate it. And Councilman Elkey, did you want to come? Who wants to do?
Oh, do you have a?
Do we have a speaker?
One.
Oh, okay.
Alan Edgerton?
Alan, okay. I should have known, right?
Mayor, members of the council, thank you for giving me this opportunity. Sean White, the chairman of the Chamber, and Peter Bardot from SPAC and I have been talking over a period of time about what happens next. Now, first let me say that this is not, I'm speaking as an individual. This is not from SPAC. We had a timing issue in terms of the time of your meeting versus the SPAC meeting. SPAC has discussed this, and everything that's in here, in the paper that's in front of you was was discussed, but they haven't seen it written up. So I'm speaking strictly as an individual. This is a very good, comprehensive plan. In my view, it would take many, many, many years to begin to implement. You have before you, not 4, but 12 targeted industry sectors. If you look at them carefully, it's 12 targeted industry sectors. You have in that plan, as I count, about 10 evaluations, analyses, surveys, and so on. It's a mammoth task, and if you spend all your time doing surveys and analyses, clearly you're not going to get anything implemented. And as Dr. Brooks told you, time is of the essence. We are in very serious trouble in this town. So, given the fact that you don't have a team, an economic development team, and given the fact that we don't have a team of consultants, and given the fact that your town manager is only one person, the question is, what do you do with it? And so we're proposing that because of the lack of resources to throw at this, to spend on something to implement this, that we create a steering committee, 8, 10 people, representative of the council, SPAC, the chamber, and substantive experts. For example, if you don't want to look at 12 areas to approach, which is the shotgun approach, some of you I've spoken to and said, I think you need a rifle approach. Pick one area and throw everything at it. You have a town of 23,000, no staff to work on it. Better be very focused and go at it very hard. So to do that, we're proposing a steering committee that would take a look at whatever plan you adopt, whether it's this one or an abbreviated version of this plan or whatever, and identify the priorities. Indicate what needs to be done first. What's the low-hanging fruit that could really have some consequences for the town? The steering committee would then, in addition, create subcommittees for substantive areas, for particular areas that need to be addressed. And we're not talking about people who sit and pontificate. This is not a license to chat. This is boots on the ground, people who are willing to go out and really do things. We've talked at times about reaching out to the region. You probably need a subcommittee to do just that, and to show up at the right meetings and talk to the right people and let them know that Fountain Hills exists. If, for example, it were, my hobby horse has been healthcare and wellness. Well, then you ought to have a subcommittee, and you ought to have people who are experts in the various aspects of healthcare and wellness. And I see my red lights on. That's basically it. It would report to the SPAC. It would also report to the council. Given the immensity of this, we don't think the council is going to want to have a hands-on to everything that goes on under the aegis of the steering committee. So we're recommending that it report to the SPAC. I'd be happy to try to answer any questions.
Okay, thanks, Alan. Anybody want to comment right now? There's no more speakers, right? No, ma'am. Okay. You want to comment on the report, or?
Yeah, I have
Something else.
questions. Ken, again, thank you so much for putting this together. This is something that we collectively wanted to get down on one section. As you're well aware, we're a consumption-based economy. We make tax revenue based on sales. I was wondering if, number one, tourism and recreation, if we could add the retail as a sector. Just, I know it's in there throughout there and it's implied and obviously it's part of the model, but it just seems when we have the four targeted, and especially if we do go with some sort of steering committee, it sounds like we're just going on after businesses, and consequently that's going to help our daytime population. But as you know, until people start buying stuff, we're not completely benefiting from that, other than raising our daytime consumers.
I think the plan, Mayor Cavanaugh, members of the council, I think the plan alludes to that as the non-basic for retail, that we need to continue because it does relate to the leakage. And I think with that combination of the leakage issue and the non-basic, it is an effort for retail to continue, that we need to continue to expand that to get that leakage back somehow with existing business, as well as adding new retail in to continue to add to those businesses that we don't have, so that we can continue on that side of it. So I think it's there. It's not specific in black and white, but if you put those two issues together, I think it addresses that. And also, it's not a limiting factor if something comes along, like the next subject we're going to talk about, because if you look at, I'll give you an example, and we're going to talk about this Grand Canyon thing afterwards, and they're identifying 5 communities. Well, I only know of one community over there that actually has education in their strategy. The rest of them I haven't seen go out and go find a university with this. So, but they're going to go out there and do it because it's an opportunity. So we'll never pass up opportunities based on, even if this plan is adopted. So if there's something comes along, grab it, and try to work through that. So if on a retail basis is the same concept. If there's something out there that we need that could come along, yes, go out and grab it.
Madam Mayor. I agree with everything you said, but again, unless it's on that list, just the example you just gave, all right, Grand Canyon put out an RFP, of course everyone's going to respond to it, but we're more than a leakage. We are a hemorrhage. We have almost half of our retail dollars are out. So for us not, and you're absolutely right, it's throughout this whole report, and it's pretty obvious, but for us not to have it as a targeted business sector, I just think whatever direction we go as far as implementation, I just think we're giving the wrong information out there. Let's go after these businesses to raise big-time population when our bread and butter. It's excellent, and please don't take this as a criticism. I'm saying, could we, back at this, that Italian, and if we could add that in some way, I just think that would emphasize on multiple levels what's needed here. But I'm open for discussion.
Councilwoman Dickey.
Thank you, Mayor. I understand what you're saying, Councilman Yates, but I trying to just look at what's happened to us in the past as far as what closes, and when we say, oh, this restaurant closed or this store closed and things like that. Probably for 10 years we've been talking about that more than the problem of what stores, what retail do we have, or that we don't have people shopping at them. So the bread and butter part is right, because we are relying on sales tax, but it's always been the lack of actual, human beings here to do it, whether it's the weather because they all leave or whatever that is. So I guess I'm pretty curious about the leakage part, because I think you said they actually took the automobiles out of it, so it really wasn't cars. But what are we missing as far as that goes, where you would be targeting that? But I am a little bit cautious about making retail a big focus, because I see a lot of that coming and going. For example, your idea that you brought forward to us about a broker, I didn't think of that necessarily as that it's just going to go out and say, oh, here's a storefront, sell shoes, sell this. I thought of, well, here's an office. Let's set up an office, or this could be a school, or this could be, who the heck knows. But basically, I thought that it would be something like that, because the last thing I think we want to do, whether we have, the sign ordinance and we have everything in place, but we don't have people looking at the signs, we don't have people here, and how do we get that population? So I wouldn't want to divert necessarily from those 4 areas.
Madam Mayor. With regard to the brokerage idea, you're absolutely right. The team concept would be not hyper-focused on just retail. It's business, industry, tourism, all the things that were up there. And I just ran the report for this meeting just in Fountain Hills, and we're almost at I think it's 43 cents of every dollar is going over the hill there. And then even if you take, I'm sorry, I'm doing math. Yeah, 43 cents, and even if you take the vehicle industry out of it, it's like 37 cents of every dollar. So specific industries, and this is just one. I've got a membership to Nielsen Claritas, and it's a retail market analysis. The furniture industry, the electronics appliance store. If you go into Ace Hardware, they keep expanding. God bless them, because there's nowhere else to go. The managers over there has told me point blank they would take over Boss's spot if they could. There is enough space for more building. $33 million gap. You do the math there, and then we get 2.6% of that. That's some huge money that's being leaked out. So all of us have driven down the road there, have to go to Home Depot or Lowe's for something specific. I'm not saying we go out and get a Home Depot, but this is just an example. Food and beverage, it's unlimited. Health and personal care stores. I mean, all these NAICS codes, all these industry codes. I'm just saying it's for us to be in a capitalistic society where our economy is based on consumption and not to have it listed. I'm not saying we're selling ourselves short, but I just think we're missing something there. And it's pretty black and white, pretty obvious. And this is based on our existing population. So it's not like we need more people. This is just the service who we have right now.
Thank you. That was what my question was going to be, because, again, I can understand you say a furniture store or something, but to have somebody come in, is it going to require that somebody who lives in Scottsdale comes here for something? I think that's the discussion we had about the movie theater too. It's kind of like, it's great, but will it be sustained just by our community. And it's kind of a chicken and egg thing, because our community will be bigger if we have more businesses and people living and working here, so.
Madam Mayor, and we're all saying the same thing, but to your question, this report is based on our existing population. It's not the regional market report, which is what you're saying of a movie theater or a big box store that, okay, we need people from Payson. When they did the Target Center, that was a regional draw, and they had to use the people from Payson to justify the numbers, and obviously that worked. But I'm just saying just that our population, based on our spending habits and consumption, there's a pretty big gap.
Mayor Kavanaugh, members of the council, if you look on page 17 of the report, it does allude to those areas specific to the downtown specific plan, but it also talks about the revitalization enhancement of the other areas of Shea Boulevard and Saguaro for those, and that is retail. I mean, it's actually both, if you can look at it, especially on the Saguaro corridor. But it could be, I mean, stick a word in there that says.
All I'm asking is, throw the word retail in the top line.
Sure.
I just want to comment on the steering committee that Alan talked about. I think perhaps he's probably talking about the same thing that's already listed here, just using different words, stakeholders. I think that was put in here to bring together a group of, it's pretty much some of the groups that Alan actually mentioned, the Chamber and SPAC and P&Z and Business Alliance and community leaders. And so I think we're kind of talking about the same thing, just using, different language, and we just need to work that out, how we would be putting together something like that with stakeholders or a steering committee. But I certainly would be in favor of SPAC taking a bigger role in this, especially since we don't have the resources. We just have 10. And I'm certainly have always been in favor of commissions stepping up and doing a lot of the work for us. So I think that's something we can look at. Anyone else have a comment on this plan or anything related to this? Councilwoman Dickey.
Thank you, Mayor. On page 12, the second bullet from the top, it's initiate a higher education feasibility study to determine and assess the existing educational resources and provide strategic direction for the attraction of higher ed to Fountain Hills. So should that become something that looks feasible, study is feasible, that wouldn't be one of those NAICS of those particular four. Would that fit in with anything like that, or is that just something that we would have to take as it came?
Mayor Kavanaugh, members of the council, it's an identified game plan. It's an approach where it could be refined further for a strategy if you want to go after higher education. It was put in there.
And Mayor, Ken, the reason I think about that is I was joking about the size of the file that I brought in tonight about education, and so is Frank out there. It's been about a decade. It's kind of beyond just the idea like, oh, wouldn't that be a great thing? It's an identified economic development driver, as you well know, and so if it can fit in there, I mean, I'm sure I feel great if we had it specifically out there, but I'm glad to see it as far as this action step. But I'd like to see that as something that maybe would get a little attention, particularly if we are able to go with the subcommittees or committees like that. And I know there's a lot of interest in this right now, obviously. And you've been in Payson, and you see they're getting the ASU, and you got Mesa, and we kind of see it all happening around us, and I'd love to be a part of that.
Mayor Kavanaugh, members of the council, I think that you mentioned Payson, Bullhead City, Lake Havasu has a communiversity concept with ASU where they're trying. It's been successful in Lake Havasu. It's not in Payson yet because of the cost that's involved working with the Gila Community College District in conjunction with that to create an ASU communiversity concept. On that side, there's branch campuses discussions, there's extension campuses. That's the concept that you can work with as well. So there's a variety of approaches I think that you can look at. I mean, Central Arizona College has in Northern Arizona University tie with the university presidents of those master's programs at a community college right now. So that's a model, that 2+2 articulation as well as the master's programs that go above that. So you can not only get your associate's, your bachelor's, you can get your master's degree at a community college. From that standpoint. So there's different models that are out there that we can maybe key in and try to look at what would be good for Fountain Hills.
All right. Anyone else have comments? It sounds like we're actually segueing into our next agenda item. Okay, so
Mayor, if I may.
Vice Mayor?
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And it does connect to our next item as well. As Councilman Yates has very aggressively advocated to have retail on page 11 in that little box there. I've been reading a lot lately, fixing around this Grand Canyon College proposal, and a couple quotes and comments that really struck my attention, which was economic development and education go hand in hand. And, education nowadays is a business, and it is a business sector, and particularly with a lot of these private colleges, as we will be looking at with Grand Canyon College putting out an RFP. So I would strongly advocate that we add education under the targeted sectors, because I think it gives a clear message. When the gentleman from ASU was here, we ended up talking about perception. And I think when we start putting things like retail sales up front and education up front, we really give a clear message that we are open for business. And as we will discuss in a bit, the Grand Canyon thing, whether that's something we can qualify for or not is not the issue. It's that we're looking into these things and we're getting the message out there. So I would strongly advocate that we have education as a business sector, because in fact it is a business sector. And lastly, just one other comment there. I appreciate Alan's presentation, and I know that although you're not representing SPAC, what I heard from you this evening sounds a lot like what I've heard from several SPAC members. So I would join in with the mayor in looking at those similarities and really advocate moving that process forward. And I like particularly that the steering committee resides with SPAC, because you need to have it residing someplace, and I can't think of a better place. So I would certainly support that proposal. So thank you for that, Alan.
Councilwoman Vicky?
Thank you. I actually have a question about the purview of the plan as it relates to that we had an economic development person here. Was that part of this, of putting this plan together to figure out if we would go that way again, or is that a budget discussion or is that was that part of what you were thinking as far as implementation?
My first inclination would be that we need to have a focused approach first, and then try to figure out staffing and budgeting on how to get there. I don't want to get that before the horse. I don't recommend you get that before the horse, cart before the horse. That's why I haven't recommended or advocated hiring or filling that position. We need to find out what we want to do first, find out what it's going to take, if we even need one. We need to have that further discussion.
Councilwoman Hanson?
One of the things we seem to hemorrhage to are people, like Jenny had referred to earlier. Is there some place in here that's a little bit more specifically addressing the fact that, like we had a school closed and our population is tending to go down a little bit, and, what can we do about attracting that critical mass that goes hand in hand with attracting businesses as well?
It alludes to it. It doesn't give a game plan. That's more of a community development effort, I think, rather than an economic development effort. We need to figure out how to keep people here or bring people in that's going to save 12 months out of the year. And looking for the younger, we try to identify those, but there needs to be some game plans identified to that. And it identifies it, but it doesn't talk about how to get there or recommended subjects or targets of what we ought to be looking at.
I just think that's one of our really big challenges. I mean, we look at something like Dunkin' Donuts that, had to close as well. And I've heard people say they go in and they always seem to be busy, but the fact remains they obviously weren't getting the traffic in. I mean, there's just that issue of not just bringing, visitors here. We need more residents too.
Okay, any other comments? No? Okay, well, this was just open for discussion to allow Ken to add some items to the plan, just making the plan a little better.
I've heard some comments. What does the council want to do? You want to add some retail language?
Well, it sounds like, to me, that we want to add some retail and some highlight on education, but we also want to focus on the actual population and the leakage of the population as part of the overall action plan. And I think if I'm hearing everyone correctly, we are in favor of some sort of a stakeholder or steering committee, and we do like the idea that staff will be taking the lead on this. Doing the work for us. They're good. Okay? Okay.
We'll bring it back to you.
Okay, that sounds good then. All right, thanks everybody. That was good discussion. All right, we'll go on to number 6, which we've already been touching on, education. Discussion with possible direction to staff relating to issuing a potential letter of intent from the town of Fountain Hills to Grand Canyon University to request consideration as a possible educational facility site. And I'm going to go right to Councilman Dickey.
Thank you, Mayor. I think with our interest and with our discussion that we're just having about economic development and that this pursuit of education has sort of been a theme for years, that when you see an article that says VCU is looking to grow or set to grow, it would definitely attract attracted our attention, and also the Chambers, Frank Ferrara, and some other folks in town who said, hey, would you please take a look at that? In the process of that, we saw this deadline for the 7th, if you were interested at all. So in case it was something that we thought we could, weigh in on a little bit or express some interest, we thought, well, we better get it on an agenda in case it ended up being an action item. Right before the meeting, we did get the RFP, and it is definitely a larger campus sort of an idea. And again, we thought on our own we would not be able to respond to that, so I don't think the deadline part is an issue anymore, but it certainly looked like, and even the article that was in the paper, I think yesterday or the day before, looked like there were some opportunities for some partnerships. I was pretty encouraged that they were looking at it regionally, that the cities had said they weren't going to fight each other, hopefully, to try to get it, and that some of the things that we talked about and that we've seen in our economic development plan about the things that we do have to offer are whether we're a niche for dark skies or being by the desert or being by the reservations or fill in the blank, or a great place to be. So how do we incorporate that and try to maintain interest in something like this, even if 75 acres isn't something we have right away? And also not even to say they're looking for someone to give them 75 acres, because Mayor Smith and Mesa made a point of saying that they've been able to attract universities or colleges there without having to make with all kinds of incentives. So again, we believe in our community. We know that we have our challenges, but we also know that we're very unique, we're very beautiful and safe, and all those good reasons why we've all been here for so many years and wanted to make our lives here. So I'm glad we had the opportunity to bring it up. On further looking, I don't know that we can actually respond, but I would sure like to be part of following the process. Let's see who does go for it, and if it's somebody, a mayor that maybe you know or that we know, and that we can say, hey, look, we have a school like Kathy just mentioned. We have a school board that's willing to talk. We have a lot of partners, and like Ken was saying, there's so many things that we probably could offer. So I just wanted to make sure that we're in that game.
Okay. Do we have any speaker cards on this set?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Any council discussion?
Madam Mayor.
Councilman Yates.
Along the same line, I think what this RFP does do, it kind of opens the door that there are schools looking, and even in that article a week ago, it mentioned branch campus or satellite campus. So there really is an opportunity here for us to put something together. It might not be to bid on this package, but if they're asking, I think we should put something together. And I mean, there's contact name information, demographic information, technical information. So we could put something together on a smaller basis. Just because you're not looking to buy a new car doesn't mean if somebody gives you the right deal, you might not buy it. So I think there's an opportunity here, and Ginny, I think you should take the lead and put something together and get it in front of them. But I think we should get something put together and get that in front of, if not this university, there's plenty of others that are looking.
Mayor, if I may.
Thanks,
Thank you. Just dovetailing off of what Councilman Yates said, thinking about this today and once again looking at the RFP and the scope. The scope is kind of beyond, I think, a project we want to put an RFP on. But I would agree with you that why not reach out to Grand Canyon University and let them know that we're interested and that if within the conversation, we don't know how this is going to evolve. Within a conversation, particularly if things become regional, there may be an opportunity. There may be a smaller opportunity that we can, jump on board. And I think by being in the game, not necessarily doing a formal RFP, we put our name out there, and I think that's positive. And we certainly have, plenty of attributes. Councilwoman Dickey has talked in the past about this, and she's used the terminology, a niche market. And, maybe there is a niche, set of classes or a cluster of classes that make sense to occur in Fountain Hills. So I think I would agree with both of you that at least at a minimum reaching out and saying that perhaps we're not going to be engaging in this RFP, but we certainly are interested in following this, and could you keep us posted, and if there are any smaller scale needs, we'd like to talk to you about it. So I would agree with you guys. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilman Brown.
And I also concur with that. I feel like that we need to at least test the water and let them know, as well as any other university that's possibly out looking, that we have some, if nothing more than some really good retail space that we could convert over into a small campus for a small organization. I mean, we've got tons of places in town that would accommodate it, and I too feel like that would be a good gesture to at least put something together and ship it off to them.
Okay. All right. Councilman Dickey, something else?
Just one other thing. I was looking at a website today that someone with the school district had told me about, and it was in Minnesota, the gentleman left, but it's called it's like a Center for College Readiness, and it's actually a sort of a combination of high school kids. Actually, I think I might go to 8th grade, and because it's something that we've seen nationwide, which is like the kids, some are not always ready when they get to college. So again, it's just another opportunity to, like Dennis said, to offer something or to bring up an idea that maybe nobody has heard of, because I know I had never heard of that, but it does meet a need, and it bridges high schools and colleges.
Okay, well, I certainly want to thank Councilwoman Dickey for all the work that she's done. She's worked many years trying to bring us some sort of an educational facility here, and so I would agree that it's a great idea. I'd like to see something actually put together as a packet so that we could start sending that out. While we can't do an RFP for this particular Grand Canyon University need, because they do need 75 to 150 acres. They're talking about quite a few buildings, and they want flat level, and we certainly don't have anything like that. But I think it opens our eyes to say that there are universities out there and other small schools that are looking for a place. We have a Fort Peak school that's empty. Perhaps a part of this packet would be also to get together with our school and discuss the pieces of property that they have, the Fort Peak school that's now sitting there useless, and I think that could be a big part of this also, since they do have facilities and they do have some land. So I would like to see something like this put together, and not only to Grand Canyon University, but to any other universities, small private schools, any indication that some places might want to expand out this area. And but I'd like to see an actual package put together so we have something that they can look at to explain, as Councilwoman Dickey said, that we do have a niche market here. We do have a lot to offer that other cities and towns don't have. So let's get the word out about Fountain Hills, like we're trying to do in all our areas. We want them to know what a great place this is, not only to live, but to get educated. Okay, so if we
Mayor Kavanaugh, members of the council, so what's the direction you want to give regarding Grand Canyon?
All right, I could go to Councilwoman Dickey if you'd like to make a motion in relation to what we have discussed. If not in relation to Grand Canyon, then
Well, Mayor, the actual intent is basically an email to a young woman who I actually did email today, so it doesn't have to, it doesn't bind us to anything, but it makes us be on a list to get any changes that they might make in the RFP, so I don't think it would do any harm to actually, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I don't wanna jump in on Ken's lap. You're pretty well versed. I've got some marketing and demographic material. I'd offer that you and I kind of put something together, but I think we can put something a little bit better together than just an email, hey, we're interested. I mean, a list of properties, a list of ideas, a list of assets that we have, showing them the demographics, how close we are to the hospitals. Way back when, before the crash, I briefly spoke with ASU, and their nursing college was looking, and they love the idea of coming here because you got Mayo Clinic and Scottsdale Healthcare right at the bottom of the hill. So there's plenty of niches that we can discuss, but not just say, hey, we're interested in bringing a college here. We need to prove to them why they need to be here since they're not specifically asking. So unless we dump it in Ken's, I kind of want to dump it in Ginny's.
Councilman Elgin.
Since Councilman Yates and Councilwoman Dickey are putting this together now, I would suggest that perhaps whatever packet is put together is broad enough to apply to a number of different RFPs, a number of different communities that this could apply to, because really what you're sending out is something for the university to look at for potential opportunities in future, as has been discussed. And I wouldn't want to task Ken any more than he already has, and I think you bring up a good point, Cecil, about that. But I do think we as a council, and it's been mentioned earlier, do need to be really focused on as far as what we're doing, and we're not scattershot. I would rather do 2 things really, really, really well than 10 things not so good. So I think focusing on, as we have been, the development of the downtown area and the development that we've had and the discussions that we're going to have in the future work studies and regular council meetings, and doing the things that we do have control over is going to be what's most important, what we should be focusing on, as opposed to the nice things that it would be great to have and it would be great to see, because otherwise I think we just chase our tail, which is, I think, happened in the past. And frankly, from the town government standpoint, how much impact we can have on any one particular business once maybe it's in town, I think, I'm sitting here racking my mind thinking, how could we as a town or we as a council have kept Dunkin' Donuts in here in town? Frankly, I don't think there's anything we could have done, absent giving them money, taxpayer money, and we certainly don't want to get into a practice of doing that. And it's just demographics, it's the market that's going to control it. I know it's been discussed as far as financial, the medical field out here, but I know that, certain doctors aren't going to come out here and practice because there's just not a market for it. And until that market's there, then the businesses will be there. So as long as we're focusing on the things that we can impact, and we're not chasing our tails on other things, I think that's what we should be doing, especially with a limited staff, and certainly before we get an economic development director, if we decide to go in that direction again.
Mayors and members of the council, it's due Monday. The letter of intent.
What's actually due Monday is an email. It's really, it says right here, here's a notice of intent to respond is an email to Kate Vincent and to register an intent. So if you don't email them, then you will not receive any communications regarding the RFP, or if there are any changes to the RFP. I mean, it doesn't bind you in any way. So if you want me to, I mean, I already emailed her, I can just say, we do want to know the information, but she already knows we don't have the property. But say the RFP changes because nobody responds the way they need to. So unless there's, I'll ask her. I'll ask her if there's going to be any, if there's any reason that would bind us to anything. But I don't see it in this. But I'm no lawyer.
I don't see any problem with sending the email. No? So, would you like to?
Who's the email? But the email has to come from Ken, or who does the email have to come from?
Is this just a direction, or do you?
I think you might want to direct Councilmember Dickey to submit a letter of intent, or an email of intent.
And Mayor, I'll find
just speaking from the council.
I'll find out what it involves, and tomorrow's Friday. Keep thinking of Saturday, tomorrow's Friday, so I can do it tomorrow and get the information in if it looks like too cautionary, I won't do it.
Do you want to give her authorization to do that?
I move to give authorization to Councilwoman Dickey
I think Councilman
to
Yates
send
first.
out in any way, shape, or form, how she likes, to Grand Canyon University by close of business tomorrow.
Second.
Second, okay, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Careful what you say, right?
All right, number 7, Ken, do you have anything further you want to add? Okay, then, motion to adjourn?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all for coming.
Happy New Year.
Yeah.